Aloha, everyone. Michelle Melendez with blossominnerwellness.com and standtogetherhawaii.com. This is also on the Voice of Kona Radio, 100.5 FM. Mahalo so much for listening on the islands. If you're here, if you're watching on YouTube or Rumble or any other channel, mahalo so much for joining me. Today, I get to speak with Richard Proctor. Super excited about this conversation. This man is amazing. He's been studying the Constitution for 20 years. He's been studying economics for over 60 years, since the 1960s. And he wrote a book, and if you want to bring your book up as this gnat attacks my face, he wrote a book called Saving the Constitution. You want to show your book really quick, Richard?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Sure. There it is.
Saving the Constitution. We're going to be talking about that. And mahalo.
Fire right. You can see that.
Yeah, it's putting the fire out, right? Oh my gosh, that's great. And mahalo so much for joining me, Richard.
I'm happy to join. I'm here to be chatted with, although I can't see you. There's something in the middle of the screen.
Oh, okay. I don't know on your end if I don't know, you want to try to fix that? I can pause the recording for a second.
I'll just type got it. Hope it leaves. Oh, it did. Okay, good.
Okay,
yes,
good. Okay,
perfect.
good. Well, I want to do just a quick shout out before we get started to the sponsor of my channel. He does support the work that I do. It's aceofcoins.com, ACEOFCOINS. And if you want to learn how to lower your taxes or eliminate your taxes lawfully, so you don't get in trouble, he's the guy to go to. Also, if you want to buy Bitcoin tax-free, and if you want to license your biometric data that's being used by big tech, aceofcoins.com is where you want to go. So let them know Michelle sent you. So Richard, let's start with why did you start understanding the Constitution? Because you know more about the Constitution than most people around the world, probably. And you started first with economics, and then you started the Constitution, which was in the 1960s, and then the Constitution you started studying in the early 2000s. What was the impetus that was like, whoa, I got to start looking into this more?
Well, I first wrote a 6-volume set on the conspiracy that's going on in the United States. Oh, I believe in what's happening to us. 6-volume set called Liberty, Will It Survive the 21st Century? While I was writing that book, I came upon things about the Constitution that weren't right. Volume 4 of that book takes in detail 51 different decisions of the Supreme Court that have violated the Constitution. And that's why I got started. That's what started me.
Wow, wow,
Oh,
wow.
yeah, they
how
do
many
terrible, terrible things.
How many did they violate?
I have over 51 major items discussed in volume 4 of my book, 90 pages of violations of the Constitution by the Supreme Court. They make them every day. Every day the Supreme Court makes violations of the Constitution.
Can you let us know a few of those? What are some of the violations that they've made?
Oh, the most recent significant one happened 4 years ago. Here's a copy of the Constitution. Okay, that's my book. It's worn out.
I have that
book. Read a little bit here out of Article 1, Section 8. Okay, just a little bit. No, Article 3. I'm going to read Article 3, Section 2, just a little bit. There it is. These are the things the Constitution allows the Supreme Court to do. First, we must remember the Supreme Court is not a court of this country. It's an international court. It's a court that looks at the waters, the oceans, that kind of thing. It is not a court for the country. The states have the courts for the country, okay? Now, it says that they've got to follow the law. They don't make the law. That's the first thing it says in Section 2. All cases in law, okay? Then it goes down and lists them. All cases of ambassadors, public ministers, all cases of admiralty and maritime, all cases where controversies between two or more states, and that's the major violation of 4 years ago. Texas was suing the other states, and the Supreme Court refused to see the case. It's the only thing they had to do was see it, and the Constitution says they're supposed to do it, and they did not. And then between a state and citizens of another state, between citizens of different states, between citizens of the same state, of lands under grants of different states. You see, this is to solve problems between states and internationally. This is not to do anything with the laws of the United States. Marshall in 1803 in Marbury versus Madison said we are going to, everything that is not in accordance with the Constitution is null and void. And that's absolutely true.
That's right.
Then he
That's
went
right.
on to say, and through judicial review, we will decide what's constitutional or not. Nope, nope,
No,
that's where it violated it. He
yeah,
doesn't
they
have the
can't.
right through any review to review whether something's constitutional or not. So that's circular reasoning. All the attorneys forget about the second part, only the first part.
Yeah, yeah, that second part, you guys are watching, that's really crucial because if it's not written in the Constitution, it doesn't apply to us.
That's
And
right.
so it's null and void, and they are making laws against the Constitution, like the emergency proclamation that these governors think that they can sign, or actually are signing, and then creating all these mandates which are
That's right.
totally against the
Constitution.
Constitution.
First paragraph of the Constitution, the absolute first paragraph says all laws are made by Congress, nobody else.
And they can't suspend laws. A governor cannot suspend laws.
Nope, can't. He can veto them within the time frame, but he can't suspend them.
And he has. Governor Green suspended 20 laws 22 days before the Maui fire. And
So
that was absolutely unlawful.
this is the kind of stuff that governments are doing to us. And if you have a decent state government, I got to start with that big if. They can throw out all unconstitutional items from their state. South Carolina governor did. Things came in about COVID. She said, nope, we're not going to do that in our state. She was
That's
right.
right.
They were
That's
wrong.
right.
They didn't do it. And it's interesting how the COVID germs had
You have
borders.
to be careful with the word C. We're going to say the C word. We're going to say the C because we can't say the whole. That gets us booted
Oh,
off
well, anyway,
the
it
YouTube
thought it
platform.
had borders. So it couldn't go into South Dakota. No problems happened in South Dakota. Therefore, it couldn't go there. It knew that it could go in the other states around it, but it didn't know it couldn't. It knew that it could not go into South Dakota, and it didn't.
Oh my God. You're talking about the virus knew
Yep.
it had, oh my God. Well, yeah, because it
It
knows
knew
when
there
you're
were borders.
sitting down. It knows when you're sitting, and it knows when you're standing. You have to sit at a restaurant, and then you got to stand with your mask on your face. And it's like, it was ridiculous. It was absolutely ridiculous.
Yep,
So
absolutely ridiculous. That it was like it's like I use this illustration. It's like putting up a chain link fence to keep out the mosquitoes.
it's what I say too. That's exactly what I
Good.
say. I've been a fitness and wellness expert for almost 30 years, and I'm like, this mask does not do anything. And then, yes, but I wanted to say too, was, oh, I just lost my train of thought on that one. But let's move on to more of the Constitution. So this governors who sign an emergency proclamation that is absolutely against the Constitution, that we can take them to civil court against that, can't we? Or
You got to be
what
very
is the
careful. Got to be very careful. This document is a federal document, not the state document.
so it'd be federal court.
Yes. Yeah, but what you really need is to look at your state constitution that was written whenever it was, and there's the item that he will have violated. State constitution, very important. Federal, state. The 10th Amendment says it this way. I'm going to paraphrase it, but it's exactly what it says. The federal government can only do laws of the things that the Constitution allows it to do. The states can do everything else except what the Constitution doesn't allow it to do. Now, that's the 10th Amendment. Simple. When you read it, it's not that simple, but it is simple. Federal government can only do what the Constitution says. The states can do everything except what they're prohibited by the Constitution to do. So that means that the states have power universal. You do 1040s and taxes every year, completely unconstitutional, and any state can throw it out. If they wanted, any state, any day can stop it for all their state inhabitants.
So this was made in the during the after World War II. Was the taxes correct? 1946 or 48 was the W-4s, because
were started in 1913.
Okay, but toward the people, because it was only 1% of the population that was supposed to be taxed. Is that right, or am I wrong?
Yes. Only people over $100,000. What do you think in 1913 that people made? How many made over $100,000 a year? That's all it applied to. And they were only 3% taxed in addition. Before the year was out, the government had taxed everybody. Before the first year, they had taxed everybody
Which was
at like 7
unconstitutional.
and 8%.
Hmm.
Does that give you a feel of how well
Wow.
they follow the law? And in this case, it was a illegally ratified constitutional amendment. Now, why did I say that? Because Black's Law Dictionary, which is the dictionary we still use today, defines an amendment in such a way that no amendment can change a contract. It can correct errors. It can add to the contract. It cannot change the contract. Add on those amendments that allow women to vote.
Hmm.
That's an add on.
Hmm.
Completely okay. Taking the senators away from the state's authority is not an add on. It's a violation, a direct violation of Article 5. Cannot do that, but they did it anyway.
It
So the
wasn't, is that
state could say, we're going to appoint our own senators, and that's that. We're going to do that. And they could.
that was Amendment 17? Wasn't that
That's
Amendment
17th
17?
Amendment. Yeah.
Yeah, 17th Amendment. So you guys listening to this, because this is in the book, the Great Maui Land Grab, that I'm writing, and it'll be out very shortly, actually. But this was important because what the governor, what the bankers, when they took over this country, what they needed to do was get rid of the senators, because the states voted in the senators, that so they didn't have power to put the senators in. But when they did the 17th Amendment, they actually made it so people could elect the
Had
senators
to
and
elect.
put in their
Yeah.
money, put in the people they wanted to do, which was absolutely against the Constitution.
Yes. Would you like me to take a minute and explain why
Yes,
it's
please
against the
go for it.
Constitution? It's
Yes,
quite
please.
simple, actually. When the Constitution was ratified, ratified, it states that all, and it still is, all money bills for government originate in the House. And then they go to the Senate. Okay. What happens in every 2 years is all of the representatives go home and find out what the people want. They come back and they create laws giving the people what they wanted, which always costs money. Of course it does. That goes to the Senate. The senators were appointed by the state. If they passed that law that cost the state money, the state would have to pay more taxes. The state didn't want to pay more taxes, so if they passed the law, they'd be fired. So they wouldn't pass the laws. That was a stopgap of outrageous spending of the federal government. When the senators went to the people, that reversed. Now the state can't stop them because it can't reappoint them. It can't fire them. So the senators now go to the people and ask the people what they want. And both groups now are spending money because the people want them to, willy-nilly. Because there's no stop, no government organization to stop misspending of money.
No
They
checks and
had that before.
balances.
Before 1913. That was changed in 13. The reason both of those articles came in 13 was because the bankers wanted the Federal Reserve, and they knew they
Yes,
wouldn't get the Federal Reserve passed unless the taxes were on the people and the people were electing the senators. So they did those two things first and then did the Federal Reserve in December of 13.
that's right. That's right. Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
sequence. Everything's a sequence, all on money.
Well, yeah, Roosevelt said if it happens in politics, it's not by accident.
That's right.
Things are happening for a reason. So, wow. So what would you say to people who are asking, well, what can we do around this? Because I mean, I remember when all the mandates were going off, and I walked into stores, and I was saying, this is against the Constitution, and I got a letter from the human resource manager of one of the grocery stores that I went into, and she said the Constitution is subject to the emergency proclamation. And I was like,
Nope.
you don't even know what the Constitution, that is like, oh my gosh, that's blasphemy, in my opinion. I couldn't
Yes.
believe that she wrote that. She doesn't even know what this document is that was created by our forefathers. So let's go a little bit back in history. What is this Constitution that people none of us have read? I mean, I've been studying just recently, the past couple of years, because I'm like, oh my gosh, our rights are being violated right and left.
You have to be careful today, Michelle, reading the Constitution because it's not written in our language.
Yeah, that's true.
See, it's written in 1828 language. So you have to understand, for example, the 11th Amendment is totally unclear. What the 11th Amendment says is all the rights aren't listed in the Bill of Rights. You've got scads more rights than those that are listed. That's what it says. But when you read it, it's not quite clear like that. That's a problem. The Article 1, Section 8, Paragraph 5 says the government will coin the money and determine the value thereof. Well, coin doesn't mean print, it means coin, but it really means create money. So what it should say is the government, Congress, is responsible for creating the money of the United States and establishing its value. Now, that's what it says in today's vernacular, not then, today. And we always have to remember that it was written in 1776.
Mm-hmm.
Welfare, the word welfare doesn't mean anything like we think of it today. In the Constitution, the word welfare does not mean give money to anybody. It means set up a system that will allow the people to do their own things safely. That's what it means. And that's what they're trying to get, the preamble. Preamble is very clear. If you read it right, it's very clear. It says, proclaim, yes, provide the common defense, promote the general welfare. The general welfare means in an area so that people can prosper. That's what general welfare means. That's what it meant then. We talk about states. The word state meant even a state was not a state like we think of today. In 1828, we go to the dictionary and read these things. A state is a organized body of any group. Could be your community, could be your neighborhood, could be your city. Those are all states, according to the dictionary these guys had. Now, they defined that geographical area of Olexay, Vermont, as a state. Mm-hmm. New Hampshire as a state, that geographical. And we have come to think state means that. It doesn't.
Wow. Wow. So many things about it that
yes
don't mean what we think they mean just because it was written hundreds of years ago.
Yes, that's why. That's right. That's why I could not use anything in my book published by any accredited place today about the Constitution. Everybody likes Hillsdale College for the Constitution. Sorry, it doesn't follow the Constitution. It changes it in accordance with what the Supreme Court says. Well, right now, the Supreme Court could say, the government, based on the court, could say you can't grow tomatoes in your backyard. Illegal to grow tomatoes in your backyard. That was decided by the Supreme Court in the middle 1930s. It's never been changed. So today, if you grow tomatoes, potatoes, anything in your backyard to eat, it's against the law.
But it's not enforced yet.
It's not enforced, but it could be any day. Any day.
How can these people make these laws that are so against the Constitution? I mean, I know that the government is taken over by the U.S. banks, and that was in 1913, because even though in the Constitution it says that only Congress can coin money, now the printing of money was given over to the Federal Reserve, which is the banking families
yes.
own that through the different boards and agencies, like the Board of Governors, through that. So it's like it's very sneaky way. Oh, they say, oh, that Federal Reserve is not privately owned. That's disinformation. Well, no. They actually own it through the different boards and stuff, the governor of boards and whatnot. But
it's very interesting. It's very interesting how that came about. By the way, it's not the first time that the government has thrown away its ability to do money. It threw it away in listen to the date, 1791. Was the first time the government gave a power to a private bank to print money in the United States. 1791. It's called the First National Bank of the United States. Who controls it? The
foreign
Bank
bankers.
of England.
Yeah, the Bank of England. So you guys...
That had a 20-year charter. The charter expired in 1811. It was not renewed.
But what happened in 1812?
We had a war in 1812.
Yes, we did.
Now we had a treaty in 1815 on that war, right?
Yeah.
Yes, yes, we did. And we
Yeah.
had a bank in 1816 again, second bank of the United States.
Which was the goes back to the Bank of England.
Yes.
Yeah.
Then Andrew Jackson got really excited about that, as he should. And in my book on banking, I have his entire talk, the entire thing he submitted about the banking system, the Federal Reserve of 1836. So they didn't renew the charter. And in 37, we had a banking depression because the Europeans would not accept our money. Took us a while to get out of that, but at least we didn't get another major private company controlling our money
That was
until
thanks to
13.
Andrew. And that was thanks to Andrew Jackson.
Yep, thanks to
Yeah.
Andrew Jackson. Now, in 1906, I got a lot of information.
I
In
love it.
1906, a guy by the name of Paul Warburg came to the United States,
Mhm.
paid by a European company called Kuhn Loeb Company. They paid him $500,000 a year. His
Back
purpose?
then, that's a lot of money.
It's today's money. It's in excess of 36 million a year with no expenses.
Wow.
They paid him that. The goal: get a central bank in the United States. So in 1909, a bunch of the financiers of New York and Paul Warburg went to Jekyll Island
That's right.
secretly and created the Federal Reserve. They tried to get it passed in 11, but it wouldn't pass because it was hooked to a senator. They wouldn't pass it. So they took the senator's name off and tried it in, let me see, that was 12. They tried to get it done, couldn't get it done. So they took the senator's name off and did it in 13 and got it passed. But the only way they got it passed was to cheat.
Yes.
They waited until everybody went home for Christmas
December
vacation, and
26th.
then they passed it because the Constitution allows a quorum to be established by how many are there. So it did, and they did it. And then the next day, Wilson signed it.
Yep.
And in 14, they began to sell shares of stock at $200,000 a share. Not to you and I, they sold them to banks. Who did the banks own? The banks were owned by the banks in England. Who owned the banks of England? The Rothschild family and the Illuminati. And that's the sequence of the money today.
Yeah.
Oh, there's so much to go on here. Banking is horrible for us. It's all unconstitutional, every bit of it. And we can organize banks to get around it, if we would, in each state, because the Constitution gives us permission to do that.
How do we do it?
Pardon?
How do we do it? How do we do it? This is so fantastic. I hope you guys are understanding this, because 1776 is when the Declaration of Independence and when we were supposedly free of England. But what he's saying is, and then is 1791 was when the first bank came about under the Bank of England. Then the second one, 1811. 1816. Well, wait a minute. The War of 1812. So it was 1811. We didn't renew the charter.
Oh, we didn't. That's right. Yeah,
that's right. Boom, and then we got war. Then that was the war. So these wars are not about what we think they are. The War of 1812 was because the Bank of England wanted their banking in here, and we said no. And they're like, we're going to go to war. Then we're going to kick your booty, and they did. And so we renewed their charter again in 1816. I mean, it's just been this whole thing. This is how the U.S. has been taken over by the banking families. So how do we get out of this?
Okay, first we read the Constitution. We read Article 6, paragraph 1. Paragraph 3. Got to say the right paragraphs. Article 6, paragraph 3. It's right here. It's right here, guys. Right there. It says all executives and judicial officers, both of the United States and of the several states, shall be bound by oath or affirmation. That's the same thing. To support this Constitution. Every one of them are bound. They raise their hand and they sign it. Every state governor, every state executive officer, every state judicial, every state official of government of these kinds raise their arm and say, we will support this Constitution. There's the first step. There's the pledge, an oath. The second step, we go to the 10th Amendment, and it says very clearly, well, not very clearly, but it does say it, that the powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited to it by the states, are reserved to the states or the people. In other words, we can organize a bank based on that amendment and Article 6, paragraph 3.
Can you read that again one more time, please?
Pardon?
Can you read that Amendment 10 one more time?
Yes, the powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states, respectively, or to the people.
So we can create our own bank.
Yes, right there, the authority right there, because the Constitution does not prohibit us from having a bank, but it does prohibit the federal government from having a bank.
That's cool.
Because it's not there. It's
Wow.
not in the Constitution. So
It's
they're
not, and they do
prohibited to
have it,
have it. So they're
which they
the
have.
Federal Reserve is prohibited, and the states can have one outside the Federal Reserve, and that's completely legal by the supreme law of the United States. This.
Which is the supreme law of the land, you guys. Like,
Yes,
that
that is
literally
it.
states
That is
it.
it. Yeah, and you'll find that in the Constitution about 4 times. Supreme law of the United States is the Constitution and the laws of the United States and treaties which are in accordance with the laws of the United States and in accordance with the Constitution and have been approved by the Senate.
Wow.
So treaties
Wow.
have to have 3 things. The other 2 is all laws have to be in accordance with the Constitution or they're null and void, and that's true.
And there's a lot that are null and void, you guys, a lot.
Yes, they're gone. They're gone. All laws and amendments that are against the Constitution are the same thing. They're gone. They're null and void because the amendments can't change the contract, and the contract is firm as of 1788. And it's never been replaced. Ratified in 1788.
Wow. So how do people create their own bank? That seems like a really big job.
Okay. My other book. Oh,
It's got 11, you guys. It's got 11 books.
Right here. My other book, that's called Hidden Lies of Banking. Hidden lies. And they're big, the lies. I have in the last part of that book, the last chapter, described how to do a public citizens bank. And in the appendix 4 and 5, I include a bill that the state can use to create it. So the information is there in the book. And how do they do it? They get grassroots people have to do this.
Okay.
They get together and say, we want to have a bank, a public citizens bank, not a chartered bank by the state. No. Not anything under the Federal Reserve. No. A public citizens bank outside of government. Okay. It owns itself too, by the way. That's a little complicated, but the bank owns itself. Nobody else owns it. The state doesn't control it. The state will audit it because that's their function, to make sure that it's legal and doing stuff because they okayed it. They have the right to audit it to make sure it's right. Good. That's what should be done. I've run for auditor in the past. That would have been my job. Okay. To audit the bank as well as all the other stuff that they audit. So that's how the structure occurs. Now, you got to have money to organize a bank. So the bill says $2 million. So that's the number I use. Now, the bill also says it's created under the 10th Amendment and under the authority of the 10th Amendment, and therefore that makes it legal because the 10th Amendment says they can do it. That makes it legal. Then every step of the way, the most important part now is you've got to have people who want to understand why they want to have the bank. The people have got to do it. It's a grassroots thing. The government is not going to do it unless the people force it. Why will the people want to force it? Well, let me give you some illustrations. A bank not under the Federal Reserve loans money to people outside of the requirements of the Federal Reserve. What is the requirement today of the Federal Reserve? 7.6% interest today. So we organize our bank, people, and our bank establishes our mortgage rate at 2%. Done. It's now 2%. So rather than go to the Federal Reserve at 7.6, now you don't really go there, you go to your local bank, but they all do what the Federal Reserve says, or the FDIC will come in and close them, and they do it all the time. So you have your bank because the FDIC can't go there because it's not under the Federal Reserve, 2%. So you get your loan, you refinance your loan, your home and everything at 2%. And this bank, will not sell those deeds to anybody else, like it's done by the Federal Reserve banks. You see, the Federal Reserve banks must sell those deeds. Why? Because they have a limit to how much money they can loan out. And the limit to how much money they can loan out is established by the amount of money, cash money, that they can back the loan with. Not the deposits. The deposits are They can loan out the money deposits, yes. Okay, they can do that all they want. But they cannot loan out money more than the cash that they can do to back it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the Federal Reserve again. So they can't, they're limited how many loans they can make, but our bank won't be limited. So we will capitalize the $2 million, $20 million, and we will loan that out to people to do their homes at 2%, not 7.6. And anybody can look at an amortization chart and know that that's really inexpensive, 2%.
Yeah, yeah.
Really
Very, like
inexpensive.
my first mortgage was like 3.4 or something. Um, so, but how would we get $2 million to start this bank?
You find investors to start it. You need $2 million. So investors do it.
Which is
Investors
actually
buy
not that
capital in
much.
the bank. Capitalization of the bank is by investors. But didn't I say that the bank owns itself?
Yes.
There's a caveat in every purchase of the bank stock that says when the bank desires to buy it back, it can. And you're required to sell it to the bank when it wants to buy it back. And banks corporations buy stock back all the time.
Yeah.
It's a common thing. So they would just buy it back. And by the time they finish buying it back, and that's done in the first year, the bank now owns itself and it doesn't sell
Got
the
it.
shares again. They put
Got
the
it.
shares in a category of not for sale. They're still there, but they
Yeah.
don't sell. It's a category, a corporation's category, bank owned stock.
Wow. Wow. Well, you guys, if you're listening to this and you're like, oh, I want in on that, get on standtogetherhawaii.com and let me know, because I think that'd be something interesting for all of us to do right now, especially with the central bank digital currencies that are coming out,
And
which are,
let me start again.
yeah.
I hate to interrupt you when you're going
No,
there,
please
but
do. Please
there's
go.
more
Interrupt
stuff for
anytime.
the people than just that. How much do you get in your deposits right now? 0.25, 0.01? No. Point. There'll be no points, nothing. Person makes a deposit in their bank, the public citizens bank, it'll be 2.5. That's 50 times more than 0.25. There's
Wow.
another benefit. But because we keep the money in our bank, we're limited to how much we can accept in deposits. So it's only going to be like $10,000 per person because we cannot keep millions in the bank. Can't do
Mm.
it. Billions in the bank.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we have to do that. But we'll never ever loan out their deposits. So they never have to worry about a run. Their money will always be available in the bank. Always. Never gone. Next, there's profit in this bank. The first year profit in the book, I point out there's two charts. Today, you'll never believe this, but this is absolutely true. Today, that $2 million can create a profit by the end of the 14th month of $400 million. 2 million to 400 million in today's banking. Absolutely. In
How? That's
1919, it could
amazing.
only create 14 million, but they changed the rules in 1819. 2019, you could only create 14 million. 2021, the rules were changed,
Oh,
and
that's
now
right.
they can create 400 million. So that
Because
money
it's,
goes
yeah.
to the state, offsetting taxes. The first tax we want to offset is the property tax.
Okay. Okay. And
No property tax is zero. There's a
how is that
benefit for
possible?
people.
How is that possible? Because these property taxes are supposed to go to the police, the roads, the schools, but
Sure, the bank
they're
would pay
not.
it. The bank would pay the property tax to the organization.
Oh,
Yeah, remember I said 400 billion one bank.
oh my goodness.
Five of those banks, five branches in the state of I don't know about the state of in Utah, five branches could pay the all the property tax everybody owes, and it would.
Wow.
So
Wow.
when the county creates the property tax, they'd send it to the bank, and the bank would pay it.
That's incredible. That would change people's lives. That would change everything.
Yes, but nobody believes it, so they don't want it.
My God, we could try
They
that. We
won't
could
look
do
close enough to
this.
see. It's a true fact. After that, we'll get rid of the income tax. We'll get rid of any money coming from the federal government. any money coming from the federal government binds us to what the federal government wants us to do.
That's
Don't
what they're
take money.
doing. That's what they're doing all throughout what's happening in Maui and what's happening
Yes,
in the general plan for the Big Island. It's always about government funding. They've had, county council, city council members saying, we felt pressure to approve the Alualu dump site or they wouldn't get the funding. And it's all about funding. And the somebody in Southern California, when the masks and the COVID mandates were going on, and they kept going to the county councils saying, stop these mandates, stop these mandates. And one of the county council members said, if we stop the mandates, we won't get the funding.
that's
It's
right.
all about these government fundings that are controlling the city and county councils.
See, now here's something I think is really bad in our country. We are backing one sex, one kind bathrooms in schools for boys and girls together. It's all over the United States.
Oh
Why?
my
Because
goodness.
the United States has a title and the Board of Education says you must do that or we won't give you money. And that's what happens. So every school, not every school, but almost every school, they said, okay, boys and girls can be in the same bathroom, the
Oh my
same lockers,
gosh.
the same showers, everything.
Oh my
All
gosh.
caused because we're dependent on the federal government for money because we accept it from the government. This is all going on. This is not fiction. It's all
Yeah, this is
going
happening.
on. They,
Disgusting. Yeah.
they've, they've closed schools because they didn't have uh, same-sex showers.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. That just makes my stomach turn. I didn't know about that. I did not
Yeah,
know about the bathrooms. I knew about a lot of other things. Anyway, we don't need to go into that. But so, okay, so where your book, which book is it that has this information?
hidden lies of banking.
Hidden Lies of Banking. Well, I'm going to get that. And how do people start something like this? It's written
Okay,
all in there, you said.
first thing you do is you find a core of people that want the bank. Got to have a core of people. That group of people invites me. They create places, rooms, so people can see me talk and answer their
Mhm,
questions. I
mhm.
like to do it on Skype, but we can do it on Zoom. I do it all the time. You and they'll sit there and they'll raise their hand and say, I want to know this or I want to know that. I'll answer any question they want, and I'll stay on the air as long as they want to help them understand it. That's what the core people do. Then the core people go out and they get as many different groups as they can because it's got to be grassroots. In the process, along will come some people who can afford to loan the bank interest return it. They were going to buy the stock. They can buy the stock from the bank for the $2 million so the bank has the money. That's how you get it started.
Okay.
As soon as you have all of that together and the money's together, you go to the legislature and you say, folks, we got to have this bank. And they say, no, we're not going to have it.
Yeah, that's what they'll do.
Well,
But we got some ins in there. We got some good
yeah.
people in there.
So what these people who want the bank do, they just say, okay, we won't vote for you. Done. I don't care what money you spend in your ads. We won't vote for you. You won't give us the bank. We won't give you the job. One time that happens to several representatives in the legislature, they'll all back it up because none of them want to be without their job. Their job is to be there. The people of Hawaii control their job. Take advantage of that control. Grassroots.
Hmm.
All you've got to do is have enough people who stand up. Now, I'm going to ask you a question. Some of them, how can we get enough people? The Revolutionary War was fought with 3% of the population.
That's not much.
3%, folks. 3, not 97, not 10, not 20, 3%. And we won it because the Lord blessed us.
Yeah,
So
I
the
did.
Lord wants evil out of our country. The
Does.
banks are evil. The Lord will bless us.
That's
We
true.
can do it if we just would. And I'll
Yes.
every minute I can to help you do it. I only ask one thing. I want to be chairman of the board of the bank that you form in each county, each bank, each branch, so that I can ensure that the rules are done because people by and large will see all this money and say, what can we do with all this money?
Oh,
Look at
yeah.
it. So I want to be able to not do that until people understand what's really going on. Then I'll back away because I don't want to be a chairman of the board of a million banks.
No, and yeah, and having somebody like you just helping start it and helping understand what this
Guide
is
it,
all
help
about. And
them
this is
understand
about
it. When we get
freedom.
enough people on the board that understand it and are backing it, then I'll back away. I don't want to do that.
And people have to understand also we have been hypnotized with believing that uh that life is, about abundant, about money, and it's always about money. No, it's not. It's about your heart, and it's about love, and it's about connecting with each other and supporting each other just to have a better life for, for not only for ourselves, but for our keiki and for our future generations. Because can you
Yes,
imagine this world that is at peace and everybody has more than enough? Everybody has more than enough food, has a place to live, is feeling like they matter. That's what this is about. It's
that's what
it's
it's
it's about
about.
freedom. It's about freedom because
Yes,
these bankers have taken away, have chipped. The Patriot Act, I just did a video on that, taken away our freedoms. They're able to surveillance us and listen to our phone calls and all this stuff. Patriot Act 2.0 is coming forward, which is totally, they want to charge people a 20-year imprisonment or what is it, $1 million fine for using a VPN, which is a virtual protection. It keeps your browser closed, private, so nobody can see what you're looking at. And this is this
that's just gonna
so
say that's the kind of
communist.
stuff they'll do. That's what
That's
they
just,
want.
that's what they're doing. That's what they're doing.
Yes,
So creating something like this is moving people toward freedom, like real freedom. We don't
yes.
even know what that is anymore.
No, we don't.
It,
We don't
no.
understand it. As a matter of fact, the state of Utah, some federal government guys came into our state offices and says, "We want to look at this." He says, "Well, that's against our state law. We can't give that to you. The federal government overrides all state law. Give it to us." And they did. And that's a lie. The
What?
federal government doesn't overrule
No,
anything.
they don't. In fact, the exact opposite is true.
It's just the exact opposite. But
Oh my God.
we're hypnotized. You use the word correctly. We've been brainwashed.
Yes,
We have been brainwashed by the banking system that we think debt is important. I know people who say if we didn't have a national debt, the country would fall apart. That's all garbage.
it is. It's, yeah. The only reason we have a national debt is because of if people are paying the interest to the bankers.
Yes,
It's
that's
like,
right. Now,
so
my education degree is a doctorate in political economics. I know what I'm talking about when I talk about economics. Yes, I know what I'm talking about.
it's fantastic, Richard. Wow. Well, thank you so much. This is definitely a good start for this conversation. So if anybody here is interested living here in Hawaii, and I actually have, I'd actually want to keep my own core group, the people I know, because I know that groups like this get infiltrated all the time
Yes, they
by
do.
people who are not what we
And
say
then
Pono,
and
which
this
is,
is one that will be infiltrated.
oh, absolutely, absolutely. So let me see about what we can do here. And I do have somebody in legislative body that I know would support this. The only thing with concerning about, the legislation not putting this forward, and then threatening them with their position is the elections. But I am
Yes,
because like election integrity is really challenging, especially here on on the islands. I don't know if we have it anymore at
everywhere,
all.
everywhere. These
Everywhere.
people who are taking polls to decide who's going to be president are barking up a tree. If we don't fix the machines, no election will occur in the United States ever again.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, mahalo so much for your time. This has been amazingly informative. I love everything that you're doing. It's so it really touches me because everywhere I look, I always feel like a roadblock, and I'm always asking, okay, universe, God, source of all things, show me the way. What can we do to save this country? What can we do to save our freedoms? And then my friend Ted introduced me to you, and he actually, I had a conversation with him a couple weeks ago, and I've contacted you, and then all of a sudden you contacted me like the next day, and it was just like boom, 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 boom. So I love the path to seeing what is possible for us. It really,
It's here. It's here. The Constitution itself gives us permission, authority to do everything I've said. And the bank is the key to being able to have your freedoms back.
yeah, it is. It
If
really
without
is.
the bank, you will not get the freedoms because we keep getting money from the Federal Reserve and the state from the federal government. And the state cannot not accept it because people want the benefits that they're getting today.
Yeah.
So if they can't get the money from the federal government, they won't be able to give them the benefits. So
Yeah.
they're caught in a trap. The bank closes that trap. The bank allows us to go to our people. Our people will do it. Will the people come and get the loans? I don't think we'll have too much trouble. I'll refinance your home for 2%. Come on. I don't think we'll have too much
Oh,
trouble. And you've got a credit card, 36%. But ours is only 6. I don't think we'll have too much trouble.
no, I mean, I remember back in, Jesus's time when he went to the temple and he pushed over all the money people, and we're like, this is not what, God's house is about. And it's not how we're supposed to live,
Right.
enslaved to your credit cards, having to go to a job you don't like because you have to pay these bills. And it's not the way that
Not
God
the way it's
intended
supposed to
us to
be.
live,
It's
not
not the
with our
way.
creator. Our creator
And
who
our
gave us.
original country for a long, long time had banking systems exactly like I'm talking about.
Correct. That's right. They did, you
Exactly.
guys. We had these banks that were not owned by the foreign bankers, but the government has been taken over by these foreign bankers because of the loans that they got for the wars that they needed to fight. The banks have loaned money to both sides of the wars,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
then created
Rothschilds finance.
agreements of repayment base, and part of that has been give us your country, and they did.
Yes. And we just talked about the Revolutionary War, same thing. We talked about the War of 1812. We lost our freedoms because of that war. Sometimes you're going to talk about the corporation of the United States government in 1871.
Mm-hmm.
And that
I have.
happened illegally again after the Civil War.
Yes.
Isn't it interesting how all these big things like this happen after the Civil
After a war. Yeah. Well, also happening in the 14th Amendment, which was because after the Civil War with the North and South, the South wanted to create these black code laws, I think they're called, and they wanted the free slaves not to have the same rights as the people. So then Congress, I think it was 1868, I think, is when the 14th Amendment was passed. Do you probably know that?
I'll give you the exact date in 1 second. I
All
don't
right.
remember every date that's going on in the world. Here's the 14th Amendment. 14th Amendment was ratified on July the 9th, 1868.
1868, yeah. So you guys, that law, what it did was it actually created all United States citizens. It turned people from from citizens of America to citizens of the United States, and said that we had privileges and immunities, not rights under God. Okay, we have been given rights under God, and no government can take them away. But this 14th Amendment has tricked people into believing that they only have privileges and immunities and not rights. And that is not true. And
that's one of the constitutional amendments that should be withdrawn. One of
withdrawn.
the 8 rescinded.
Yes.
And the states could do it anytime they wanted.
We can do it. We can do it.
Has the power to rescind within its own boundaries, to rescind any constitutional amendment or any law from the federal government that is not constitutional within its own boundaries.
Yes, I mean, this is so great. So if you guys are listening and going, what? Keep listening. Please like, share, and subscribe this video, especially because I'm definitely going to be having Richard on more.
I'll come in anytime you want, Michelle. I'll come anytime you want me to do this. I will.
Awesome. We're also going to do live.
People, to any big group, to any small group, I don't care. I want these things done, and I've dedicated the last part of my life to do them.
Well, we're going to get you on more, and I think the next one we'll do is a live YouTube. I always have troubles with the lives, but I'm going to get over that.
I'm happy to do live because people ask their questions.
Ask their questions. That's the thing.
That's live if if they can't ask a question.
That's true. So
I will to do live.
Get over my tech issues.
I've done audiences of numerous sizes live.
Awesome. Fantastic. Well, I just want to send you so much mahalo from the Big Island and from the Hawaiian Islands because this is really amazing and we can have our freedom back. I know that a lot of people, hope is something that people are just barely hanging on to, but you've really given me a ton of hope to see that there is a light here. There is a light that we can actually move toward and open that door and have the freedom back that we want. And I see it's possible for all of us. So
And
mahalo so much.
to help, my books are all available, provisinstitute.com. All available, every one, all 11.
I will put that link in the description, you guys. So please take a look at that if you want to learn more. I'm definitely going to get your book on the one about the banking lies. That's
Yeah.
that's
Hidden
number
lies of
one.
banking.
Hidden
And
lies
they
of
are
banking.
hidden, folks. They are
Yeah, they
hidden.
are. Oh yeah, they're
They are
secret. Oh
hidden.
yeah, they don't want us to
Everybody
know about
thinks
them.
everybody thinks that when they borrow money for a car or something, it's principal and interest that they pay. No, they don't. They don't pay principal. They pay the interest, but the principal, it doesn't go anywhere. The bank keeps it all. The
Mhm.
bank keeps every dime you pay it for any loan you make.
Wow. Well, all
Every
right.
dime.
So on that note, let's do a quick prayer, and then I'll let you go on your way and get to sign up for another call for you with you. All right, Great Spirit. Infinite intelligence of all things. We're so grateful for this time in history right now and for Richard's journey because it is an amazing journey what he's gone through to be able to educate people and be able to author 11 books on economics and the Constitution and just giving so much gratitude to his journey to giving us the light here in the darkness that we can move toward that light and open the door to our freedoms again. Open the door to the knowingness that we have rights given by you, Great Spirit, that no government can take away our freedoms because our freedoms are God-given. And we are so grateful for the knowingness now of how to move toward freedom again in this country. And Great Spirit, we know that anybody who's listening who goes, oh, I want to be in on that, I want to bring back freedom to this country, that they are guided to do what is their kuleana, what is theirs to do, and that they have the courage through you, Great Spirit, to do what is needed. We know that this is done, and we get to watch as things unfold that have anyone who is not a stand for human life and not a stand for a free country that and they if they're in power we get to watch as they are peaceably removed or that they voluntarily step down and we don't know how it's going to happen, Great Spirit, but we just know it's going to happen and we get to watch it unfold with the magic that you bring us every single day, and we just know it is done, and so it is. So, Richard, thank you so much for joining. I just send
I'm
you
glad
so
to be
much
here.
mahalo and aloha from the Big Island.
Take care. Have a good day.
Bye.